so much for joining us today. My name is Brenda Castaneda. I am the manager of the animal shelter. And I'd like to introduce our panelists on the screen. It looks like everyone is Brenda Castaneda tonight, but actually Captain Irving is here, who oversees support services, and we have Senior Animal Control Officer Stacy Wood-Levin, and our Community Outreach Coordinator, Lisette Rojo, who is showing under Sherry Nakamura's name because we're using Sherry's account tonight. So before we begin our presentation tonight, I do want to express our condolences on behalf of everyone to the people who have recently lost pets who were taken by coyotes. I know that it's not an easy thing to lose a pet, and losing one in this manner is extremely traumatic and difficult, especially since most of us here tonight, we consider pets part of our families. So I did want to make sure to mention that. So tonight's presentation will include going over our role in relation to coyotes, public concern, obviously, and the education that we provide on this issue, related statistics, hazing information, and a proposal for a new idea tonight. Our goal for this evening's meeting is to come up with an understanding of what we can do together moving forward to make an immediate impact on this coyote situation. After our presentation, we will cover questions that were sent to us beforehand. And if there is something else that you would like to bring up or discuss, we will take additional questions once that's over. Okay, so the Burbank Animal Shelter, Burbank Animal Control are one and the same. So if you hear us say those, it is the same. You see their picture of the shelter. And our role concerning wildlife is to educate residents on best practices to deter problem wildlife. We do respond to calls such as sightings of mountain lions, coyotes, and bobcats. We pick up injured or sick wildlife and deceased wildlife. And we do work with the Los Angeles County Veterinary Public Health Department when there are sick or deceased wildlife that may need to be submitted for testing. Okay. Stacy, you're going to take this one.
Hi, folks. So as I'm sure you know, coyotes are indigenous to the Verdugo Mountains. Burbank is nestled between two mountainous areas, so we're going to see a lot of wildlife. The sightings in residential neighborhoods are not rare. They come down for food. They're extremely adaptable. They have a lot of food sources down in the residential areas. Obviously, we want to keep them up in the mountains, but a lot of them are born in the residential areas. And we're going to talk about things that we can do to make them not comfortable in those areas. General coyote behavior. They have a breeding season in January, so we might see more of them in specific times. And coyotes, they're normally fearful of humans. I know that we have some issues with some concerns about some that are kind of brazen, but we'll talk about the hazing and what we can do and how comfortable you can be in hazing and the things that you can do to make them scared enough to not approach you. Coyotes are fearful of humans. They're comfortable around areas where food is left out, where there's outside animals that are left out, where there's fruit trees. You want to pick up fallen fruit. You want to pick up any kind of pet food that's left outside for outside pets. They are very adaptable and they have a lot of food sources, again, like opossums and skunks and squirrels and things like that. And because Burbank is so rich in fruit trees and food, we're going to see a lot of them. Right now, the coyotes are very curious, and the the patterns have changed because we have changed in the way that we're living right now because of COVID. They are roaming in areas where they wouldn't usually roam. We're home a lot, so we're seeing a lot more of them. So the sightings are a little bit heightened. We have some public concerns that Lizette is going to talk about next, and she's going to talk about social media issues.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. Well, obviously, as Stacy mentioned, we have had a lot of public concern, mainly because of the number of sightings that we're seeing within our city. We do track, we see what you're posting. We're aware of how frequently they're being seen in our neighborhoods. So, for example, Nextdoor has proven a very useful social platform to share information, and we understand we're all very neighborly, and we appreciate everyone notifying each other of sightings. I love seeing that, just everyone make sure that, there's a coyote roaming, whether it's on Naomi and whatever other street. So we do appreciate Nextdoor for what it's providing for all of our neighbors and residents in the city. As far as the shelter and tracking coyote behavior and sightings, we are a little bit limited as to what we get from Nextdoor. We actually tried contacting them and asked them if they could tabulate the number of posts concerning coyotes that were popping up within the Burbank neighborhoods. That's not a service that they provide to us, which is why we do want to urge everyone that apart from sharing on Nextdoor, you also call the shelter and let us know, report your sightings, just so that we're aware of the entire picture. Because we do want to make sure we're aware of every situation, every instance of a coyote sighting. Yeah, we also have a different tool that I will more about later, Coyote Cacher, and we also want to make sure you have that as a resource for coyote site reporting. So we do create data. One of the agencies that we are constantly requesting information from is Los Angeles County Public Health Department. We ask them to provide any information they may have available regarding, coyote bites to humans. So this is the information we have updated as of August 11 of 2020 regarding reported bites to humans by coyotes. So what we're seeing is coyote bites to humans are very rare. We only had two fatal documented attacks in North America, spanning from the 80s. And several of the bites that we saw were actually attributed to people feeding coyotes. So again, it's causing them to lose their natural fear of humans. So this information, as well as other useful information, is posted on our website under our coyote page. And also coyotehazing.com will actually take you directly to our page. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Right now, I'm going to pass it on to Brenda so she can talk to you about some of the data we actually have in-house, which is very useful.
Okay, so this slide, Attacks on Pets, shows the number of animals killed by coyotes that we have picked up, that the shelter has picked up. So if a pet is attacked by a coyote or killed by a coyote and you do not have us pick it up, or call us to report it, then we won't have record of it. But you can see here, we listed this data back from 2008 when we first started with our computer system. So you can see through the years the number of dogs that have been taken by coyote, the number of cats, as well as chickens, ducks, and rabbits under miscellaneous. We also track wildlife that we can tell has been killed by a coyote. And then for tonight's meeting, we did list dogs not reported to the shelter, but we were made aware of it through Nextdoor and through Coyote Cacher. And so for 2020, we have 2, and through Nextdoor for 2019, we had 1 dog there. So small pets, obviously, as everyone here most likely knows because you're here at the meeting, small pets are definitely prey. You know, coyotes don't know the difference. Obviously, for them, it's a prey animal, and they're going to go after a small pet. So, you know, unfortunately, if your pet is unattended, it is a possibility, and if they're left alone, it's a possibility that they could be taken by a coyote. Larger pets can be seen as threats for them and competition for resources as well. But we generally do not hear about attacks on larger animals. Okay, we're going to the next slide. Now, this slide we included in tonight's presentation, which shows the number of cats and dogs that we have picked up that are hit by car. Now, this number we are not providing to minimize coyotes taking dogs and cats, but to show you that there are other dangers that roaming pets can face. And getting hit by a car is just one of them. So in this year alone, we've had 44 cats that we picked up and 9 dogs that were hit by a car. Okay. Moving on to response protocols. So when we receive calls concerning coyotes, animal control officers are dispatched to locate the coyotes. They do chase them back to the mountains generally. If they can capture them, they certainly do. And if they are captured, we do euthanize them. We cannot relocate them. I know that's been a question that's come up a lot recently, and state law does not allow for relocating coyotes. So that cannot be done. We do also set humane box traps in areas where we set humane box traps in areas where we know that they may be frequenting. For example, we have recently become aware that there are 2 coyotes that are essentially wreaking havoc in a neighborhood near Chandler. And so we are trying to trap those aggressively right now. These are actually coyotes that people have seen going to and coming out of Disney Studios there on Riverside. So we are actively working with Disney to try and catch these 2 that we feel are behaving a bit out of the ordinary, and because they're more aggressive, and we have some documented kills from them. So after hours, I want everyone to know that you can certainly call the Burbank Police Department, the 238-3000 number, if you're having some kind of emergency involving a coyote. I know that this year, the Burbank Police Department has responded to 36 calls involving coyotes after hours. So on this graph, you can also see the number of calls that PD has responded to, that the shelter has responded to. And also in the orange there, you see a number of activities that we initiate that include rechecks for coyote traps, maybe following up with residents who maybe have vacant houses here in Burbank that they've just left and have become an issue as far as maybe possibly hosting coyotes and making it easy for them to create dens. So we do follow up with those as well until the situation is resolved. We do reach out to License and Code, and they assist us in any way possible with locating the owner. They send letters to the owners to make sure that that holes are covered where coyotes might be getting access to, broken windows, shrubbery that's overgrown. Anything that they can do, they help us with. If there's some kind of code violation, they're on it. So we work together, and we've been doing this for a long time, and it's a great relationship. We also respond to requests to check yards. So if you feel that you want an officer to come out to check your yard to make sure that it is coyote unfriendly, then you can certainly reach out to us. We can schedule an appointment for you, have an animal control officer come out and check the area for you, make recommendations, and that way you can make sure that your yard is as coyote proof as as possible. Okay, and I think that we may be having some technical difficulties here, which I didn't think we would go without. So right on cue. Lisette, are you back on?
I think I am.
Okay, can we go to the next slide then?
Okay, are you seeing?
I'm seeing response protocols. Response protocols, I think that is 8. We did that one. You're going back. Yeah.
My apologies, everyone. I got kicked out of the meeting. I'm not sure why, but
That always happens.
I'm always very excited to attend, and I'm always the one to get kicked out for some reason. I'm not sure. But I wanted to talk to you about some of the efforts that we are making to just build awareness for, the coyote issue. So let me talk about some of the things that we have done and are still doing currently. We make sure to send, we put a lot of information out on social media channels. We have our Burbank Animal Shelter accounts, Instagram and Facebook. And then also we have the police department and the city of Burbank posting any kind of hazing information on both their Instagrams and their Facebooks, especially during times where it kind of seems like it's peak season. So we do have them to also help them share that information. We also share on Burbank's Channel 6. We put any information out there. So I hope some of you are seeing that. I skipped one. Pre-COVID, we actually did have community presentations where we would take any opportunity to go out, usually with an animal control officer, usually Stacy, and we talk about wildlife and coexisting and just how to keep ourselves, our pets, and wildlife safe. We also constantly post on our website. We have our coyote pages and our wildlife pages on our website. And then also City of Burbank on burbankca.gov usually posts something, especially when we have a period of very frequent sightings, as well as on the police department website. During our, usually maybe 4 times a year or 3 times a year, we send license renewal reminders to everyone. So anyone who has a licensed pet within the city would get our inserts, which you can actually see there on the top right, just reminding everyone that there are coyotes in our neighborhoods. And on the back side, we have hazing tips, do's and don'ts that Stacy will go over in just a little bit. And then also previously, we would always post something in Burbank, USA. That's that little insert, the newsletter that was attached to your Burbank Water and Power bill each month. So we took that opportunity to put in coyote information, any wildlife information in the inserts. Unfortunately, they are no longer printing those newsletters, but that is something that we constantly did. Now, we are going to keep this up, but we also, just talking to everyone in the community, we are planning on changing it up a little bit too. We're actually working with the Public Works Department right now on a wildlife coyote awareness campaign where we're planning on placing posters in bus stop shelters. We also want to place signage around the city and in areas that are highly frequented by coyotes, such as Chandler Bike Path. And then also, we actually kind of just went live today, but we have coyotehazing.com. So this is meant to help everyone just facilitate their access to coyote information. So coyotehazing.com is live. It takes you directly to our coyote page on our overall Burbank Animal Shelter website. So it's an easy way for you to log on and see what we're posting on our website. And then we've also created a new email account so that everyone who wants to report a sighting or has any specific concerns about coyotes or wildlife, you can email us at wildlife@burbankca.gov with your concerns or comments or questions. We also work with the community. We take advantage of anyone who's willing to help and learn more about animal welfare or wildlife. We are currently working with an Eagle Scout who is helping us build homemade noisemakers that anyone who is interested in getting can take on their walks. And it's just a hazing device that is easy to carry and you can use to deter a coyote. Also, we want to come up with our own hazing video where we can teach everyone, especially because now everything's done virtually, where we can teach everyone how to haze. And then along with that, we want to hold continuous webinars that will be like mini hazing teaching segments. We're also working on an e-newsletter that we can use to just disseminate information to anyone who's interested in receiving regular updates from the shelter. It could be anything related to adoption or, wildlife as well. So those are some of the things we're working on. Another thing that we do is we always provide these pamphlets, flyers to anyone who's interested. We have tons in the shelter. I have a cabinet full of. We always are willing to share them when we get phone calls in the shelter. If you're interested in actually sharing the wealth of knowledge with your neighbors, we're happy to mail you a nice little stack so that you can keep and then also share with your neighbors because, this is it's a community issue. So we want to make sure we have everyone involved and everyone that is aware of the coyote issue. So we also leave these throughout various buildings. Again, I know because of COVID, some of the buildings are closed. But we usually stock the libraries up with these pamphlets for anyone to grab. And then now, if you want them electronically, they're posted on our website, or you can just send us an email at wildlife@burbankca.gov to request your own electronic version of it. They're also usually posted on the PD and the city websites. So a nice resource that we wanted to make sure everyone is aware of. I know we've gotten this question repeatedly, and I think I saw it in the chat just now too, is if there's a place where we can report sightings. So Coyote Cacher is actually a nice resource that is available to us, and we actually really like at the shelter because it's giving us a very holistic idea of coyote encounters. So we really would want everyone to increase their reporting to the shelter, but this is actually also a very good tool to use. There's 3 main components to the website. I'll show you each right now. So for one, if you have an encounter or a sighting with a coyote, then you can go onto the website, and this is again linked on our page, coyotehazing.com, where you can complete a short survey, just detailing what your encounter was like. So one of the questions here too, which we want to make sure you click yes on, is if possible, would you like to be contacted by your local animal services agency about this report? So we want you to click yes, that way we have access to that encounter. And it's going to help us overall to really understand whether we have a coyote issue, and just let us know what exactly is going on. So the second component to the website is this alert system. And I know that many of you also asked previously whether there's a way for you to be alerted about any encounters that a neighbor or anyone else may be having. So if you opt in for this alert system, you can put in your name, your email address, I believe a phone number as well, and you can choose which type of alert you want to be notified for. I'm sure you can choose any of them. They have 3 levels of alerts, but put in your information and you'll, I believe, get an email whenever there is an encounter in your zip code. And then lastly, the third component is this interactive map. So if you want to see what has already been reported to Coyote Cacher, you go on, I just put our shelter zip code here, and you can see the instances that have been reported to this website. So they break it down by level, the location, and you can click on each dot to get more information. So we really want to make sure that you're using this. And then also, it doesn't hurt to report to the shelter as well. We can actually pull information from Coyote Cacher to get a better idea of what's going on within our city. So knowledge is power. Let's make sure that we're using all the resources that we have so that we can better understand what's going on in the city. One of the questions actually asks whether during your coyote sighting you attempted to haze or not. So it actually gives us a good depiction of whether people are hazing. And we actually found that maybe about 85% didn't haze, but Stacy again will talk a little bit more about that now. I'm just gonna go over hazing.
Hi, I apologize for last time I was on. I had a lot of feedback in my earphones. So I wanted to go over the attractants of the coyotes and why they frequent residential areas. Obviously, one is leaving pet food outside for outside pets. There's always the intentional feeding of wildlife, and believe it or not, we do get people that actually put out food and water for them. It might be one of your neighbors, it might be somebody down the street, but people, they do it. And if you see it, it's really important that the shelter is contacted so we can go out and investigate, and we can educate them. That's the biggest thing, is educating them on why they shouldn't be doing this. Another attractant is water sources. I was out in a residential neighborhood off of Chandler a couple weeks ago, and I saw bowls of water being put out, intentional. And it might have been for like dogs that were walking by, but it was a really good attractant for wildlife. Other water sources are like ponds, obviously, and water gardens and things like that. So you really kind of want to be careful about those in your yard, because that will definitely attract wildlife, all kinds of wildlife. Fallen fruit, that's a big thing in Burbank. Burbank is very rich in fruit trees. We have lemon trees and avocado trees, and coyotes really enjoy the avocados, but they'll also eat the rinds of other fallen fruit. So it's important that yards are cleaned up. It's important that the fallen fruit is gathered and thrown away and put into a sealed trash can. Speaking of trash cans, so you want to make sure that the trash cans aren't overflowing. You want to make sure that they're sealed. Again, on my walks in the residential area, I see that there are a lot of them that are open, and there's bags of food. That's important to have those sealed, and so they're not attracted to raccoons and to opossums and to coyotes especially. Obviously, there is the leaving your pets outdoors unattended, your small pets. That's a big one. Overgrown shrubbery, uh, that could go to a license and code. If it's something that you're concerned about, you can give the shelter a call, or you can call license and code. But if you have areas with overgrown shrubbery, with trees that are overgrown, that can easily hide a coyote den or abandoned house, empty house, that it's really important that you call us and we'll go and check it out. Um, okay. And just remember that coyotes, they don't really know boundaries. They can come from the hills, they can go into a yard. They don't understand that this is residential and this isn't. Okay. Another attractant is pet feces, and you don't really think about that a lot, but they can smell the feces from the dog or the cat, so they know it's there. So they know that's prey. And that's a new one that you definitely want to make sure that your yards you're cleaned up. Okay. So as far as hazing goes, um, there's the famous picture there of the man standing there. So, and it says, "Don't do this." So hazing is the very beginning of what we need to do. It's so important that it's done correctly and that it's done each time that there's an encounter. Lizette had just said, there's a pie chart here. Lizette said that 85% of people didn't haze when they encountered the coyote. It's so important. And I hear a lot of people say, I'm scared. I think that they're going to attack me. It's very unlikely. And if you do it correctly and you make yourself big and you're the boss and you use the tools I'm going to show you, it's going to work. I promise you it's going to work. But we can't stand there, look at them, take pictures of them, send everyone pictures and say, look, I saw a coyote in this area. It's important that you haze them and you scare them away and make them scared of humans. And the more this happens, the more they become conditioned to not want to approach humans. And all in all, that's what our goal is here for the community. So I want you to be confident on your walks, and I want you to maybe look into some tools. If I always suggest for older people, if they want to bring an umbrella, this umbrella is just a little handheld umbrella, but it has the button here where it pops open. And things like this are very scary to wildlife. You want to use your tools that you have. You want to yell, you want to scream, you want to stomp your feet, you want to make yourself big. If you have a jacket, you want to put your jacket over your head. Even if they're just walking by you, you want to start hazing. You absolutely want to start hazing, especially if it's in a residential area. You want to scream at it, go away, coyote, or say whatever you want. You don't have to say go away, but as long as you use a confident voice and you try to get them out of the area each time you see them, it's important. There are other things that you can use. There are little pepper spray, little containers. Everything I got here, I got at Big Five, the sporting goods. They're very inexpensive. There are rescue whistles. I won't do it as loud as it can go, but it's pretty loud. There are other devices such as alarms. And honestly, folks, these are probably things that you should be keeping anyway when you're on walks, just for your safety. These are great. These are air horns. These are very loud. I'm going to warn everybody in the room right now because I'm going to do it so you can see how loud it is. And yeah, this will scare any coyote away, definitely. But these tools are really, really important. And what's nice is you can carry them on your belt. You can carry them in your pocket. They're not very big. They're inexpensive and they actually work. They really, really do. So going back to, if you see a coyote, even if it's just passing you, you want to haze it. What they're doing is, coyotes, they're very smart and they're learning your pattern. If you're walking a little dog, if you're letting your dog outside at a specific time, they're learning the patterns. So don't don't think that they're not smart enough to know that, but you're smarter than them. So it's a matter of you changing things up and being really, really aware of what's happening. And even if you can't see them, you should always think that, yeah, they're there. So you should always be, defensive about it. And just make sure that you have these tools if you're walking your small dog, or walking with your children. There, it's really, really important. Also, tell your neighbors to haze. If they need to walk out with pots and pans and wooden spoons, that works too. Any kinds of noise works great. So don't the most important thing is not to ignore the coyote. Don't let it just walk by you. Definitely shout at it and start hazing it. I am going to be doing some hazing classes, and I would love to have some participation. We'll get together and do some hazing classes online, I guess, during the COVID, maybe record them, and so you can watch them. I'd love to have a live class at some point where we can do this together. But I think it's really important, and we can teach the kids, we can teach your parents. So again, hazing is essential, and at the beginning of this problem, it's essential to fix this problem.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. It's always good info. So our next slide is the new program that we wanted to propose tonight. So everybody's heard of Neighborhood Watch. Obviously, that is significant in deterring crime in neighborhoods. We would like to start something along the lines of Neighborhood Coyote Watch. We would like to have people volunteer to be block captains who are in charge of connecting neighbors for meetings, where Stacy could go over things like hazing, all the education we could possibly give you on coyotes, other wildlife, sharing of information on sightings, any particular issues in your neighborhood, such as vacant homes, maybe someone's feeding them or leaving food out for wildlife that's causing attractants. Anything that might be an issue. This is something that could, be like a networking opportunity. And so the way it would work is each neighborhood would obviously have a block captain that would be in charge of disseminating the information to the neighbors. The animal shelter staff would then have meetings with these block captains so that information from us could be shared with them and back down to all of the neighbors on their blocks. So in something like this, in this type of a program, we would be working together, community and shelter staff, to identify and eliminate wildlife attractants that we've been talking about tonight. That we've discussed so many: pet food, trash, hiding places, in order to keep them away from your home. The goal of this program would be to reduce the number of conflicts between human and coyotes, other wildlife, and pets and coyotes and other wildlife, because your pets could be hurt or, by other wildlife such as raccoons as well. So I'm putting this out there to you because you cared enough to join us tonight, and I sincerely appreciate that. And I'm asking if this is something that you think would be beneficial. Do you want to get involved? I know I see a lot of comments. I've received a lot of emails of people want a solution now, and I get that. And so this is something that is cost effective, time effective, as we can do something now. You can do something now as residents. You're out there, it's in your neighborhood, you see it faster than we do. Usually by the time we get there, the animal may be gone. So if everyone were to be able to come out and haze, that would be a powerful tool in your neighborhood. And I'm telling you, the coyotes wouldn't know what hit them at that point if you got everybody on board, if we got everyone on board. So I'm throwing it out there to see, you know, what your responses are and if you're willing to join us on this. And I think that might be our last slide. Okay, so I did at the beginning say that we were going to discuss some questions that we received early on when we said we were going to do this presentation. So Lisette, I believe you have those questions, and Lisette's going to throw them out to us, and we are going to respond.
Yes, thank you to everyone who sent us questions. We had a lot of emails, so we tried to just sort of highlight the basic themes, the more prominent themes that we saw from all of your questions. So I'll start with the first one, and we kind of already talked about this, but one of the questions was concerning our education efforts. What are we doing to get the word out? Not only, you know, via social media, especially because a lot of people don't have access to the internet. Channel 6, I saw somebody say here, you know, what if we're not on social media and we don't watch Channel 6? What are we doing to educate everyone? Do any of you want to?
Yeah, well, I know that one of the things that
Hold on.
Sorry, I know that one of the most important things that we're doing is when we get a call from someone in a neighborhood about the coyotes, like you said before, we'll send them some flyers, Lizette. But we have also asked our volunteers to go out and pass out educational materials by hand, door to door. So that's been a big push for that. So that's good. And we have social media. We have you know, the word of mouth. We're talking to people on the phone, and we're asking them to talk to neighbors. We have you pushing everything on Instagram and our website. We have a great website, and I know that there's coyote materials on the PD website as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We also just launched coyotehazing.com. I saw on one of the comments that someone wasn't able to get on, but I did check on my phone. I was able to get on through there, and coyotehazing.com actually forwards you to our coyote page on our website. So we just wanted something easy for people to remember. This is something that we're going to be putting on the bus stop advertisements. So we're hoping that will be useful as well. I mean, we've talked about doing a billboard as well. Of course, that's a few $1,000s, but it's certainly not something that we've decided not to do. So that's still on the table. But yes, the neighborhood watch program that I've discussed, we're hoping is something that people will jump on board with. I did see a comment asking, where do we sign up? I would say email us at wildlife@burbankca.gov. Lisette, maybe you can put that website up so that we can, everyone can get it and email us. So I think that's, that essentially, I think, covers that question. Unless Captain Irving, did you have anything you wanted to add on that?
The only other thing that we had mentioned looking into was working with the city to put out permanent signs. So kind of like the no parking type signs that you'll see in the neighborhoods, so that the affected neighborhoods, it puts out a little bit of notice. Obviously there's a good number of you here today, but maybe not everyone that lives in that neighborhood realizes that there's an issue with coyotes being in the neighborhood. So we're going to work with the city folks and see if we can get some permanent signs put up in those areas.
Thank you. Lisette, what's the next question?
Okay, so we also received a lot of questions regarding the state laws. What are the state laws relevant to coyotes? We heard a lot about trapping, relocating, euthanizing. So how is that relevant to how we manage coyotes?
Sure. So yes, state law does not allow relocating them. I mean, if you think about it, if we were to trap coyotes and relocate them elsewhere, far away from Burbank, then they would become someone else's problem. If you look at it that way, for one. There's also the concern about them being put out in an area where they'll be fighting for resources, potentially spreading disease that might not be in that population. There's also the issue with removing coyotes from one area. People think that then they would be gone from that area. But what tends to happen, and not just with coyotes, but other animal populations, is that other coyotes would move in, other wildlife would move in. Now, having said all that, there's still the issue of the environmental impact that something like that would have. And I know you're asking about relocating, Lisette, but I know we've received a lot of questions about why can't you euthanize them? Why can't you kill them? Other cities have tried this, and they have approved moving forward with something like that. And what has happened is that groups, animal advocacy groups, have stepped forward to defend coyotes, and they have sued cities, and they have protested because there was no environmental impact report done to see how the culling of the coyote population would affect the environment. So I know recently we became aware this occurred in Arcadia, and that was put a stop. The culling of the coyote population was stopped by the animal advocacy group because there was no economic impact report completed. So that was halted. Now, an environmental impact report is something that is not an expensive one, and two, it takes a long time to get that done. So I know that from the comments I've been receiving, the emails that we've been receiving, people want an answer now. And so that is why we are asking residents to Hayes and to do this together, and let's have a joint team, join forces to haze coyotes and do the best that we can in this manner to stop them at this point, because this is a low cost solution. There are several, so many communities that are impacted by this here in Burbank, and it's an easy thing to do. So, and we'd certainly be able to help you do that. Does that answer the question, Lisette? Okay.
Thank you, Brenda. Another question was, what are we doing to control the growing population of coyotes? There was mention of spay and neutering. There seems to be a lot of breeding as of late. Is there anything we can do to just maintain that growth?
Maintain the growth of the population from births? Is that what the question?
Yeah, basically it seems like there are more coyote than there have been in previous times. So a growing population.
Mm-hmm. So it's difficult for us to say, whether or not that is the case. Right now, things are a lot different in our world, certainly, and in the coyotes world as well. As a lot of us are home, and we're seeing more than we're used to seeing. I know that traffic patterns have changed. And by the way, we're not the only city that's experiencing what seems to be a coyote increase, if you will. My Nextdoor app from my community, and I don't live in Burbank, every day I have coyote sightings also popping up on there. But Lisette, I think that this question again kind of plays into the whole why can't we trap them and relocate them area as well. So we do try and take kind of, the middle road here. Again, the easiest thing to do is to educate the people, to haze them. We are, though, aggressively trying to trap coyotes that we know are causing, havoc in certain communities. And these are the ones that that I mentioned earlier that are seen like on Disney's campus, that coming in and out of there. And so those coyotes that we have identified as being problems in certain areas, we will go after. But as far as maintaining the population, yeah, that's not something that we at this point could get involved in. I know someone had emailed, or I may have seen a comment asking, can you spay and neuter coyotes? So that, again, I think would probably require an environmental impact report. How would something like that affect the coyote population and the other wildlife? I can't say, though, I did reach out to a university in Wisconsin that apparently did a study. They did a little project where they spayed and neutered, I believe, about maybe 25 coyotes, and then they followed them. I don't know the result of that study. I did reach out to them. I emailed them and I asked them, was this project successful? Do you know of cities that actually used this method to control the coyote population? And unfortunately, I have not heard back from them. But it is something, again, that I did reach out. So if I do get an answer, and if it's something that other cities are doing that I'm not aware of, then certainly we could look into that as well. But again, I believe it would be an environmental impact report would be needed. There would need to be a facility to spay and neuter them, a veterinarian to do this as well. Coyotes would need to recover after the fact. It wouldn't be an easy undertaking. And I can just, I'll share with you now too, that there seems to be a shortage of veterinarians right now as well. This is something all shelters are experiencing, in hospitals. So in fact, we're short a veterinarian right now. So I hope that answers that question.
Thank you, Brenda. I know we had a comment about the cemetery Valhalla. I think that's outside of Burbank, and somebody noted that there's increased breeding in the cemetery and whether we could do anything about that, but that's outside of Burbank, right? So that's outside of our jurisdiction.
There's a portion, I believe, that is in Burbank. But I have to say that, something like that, hazing would obviously be something that needs to be used there. I don't know if we mentioned motion sensor lighting, motion sensor sprinklers as well is something that we promote. But certainly we can go over to the cemetery and hand out material as well. I know it's been a while since we've gotten calls for coyotes there. We have in the past, but I haven't heard of any recently. Stacy, do you know if we have?
Not recently, no. We used to get a lot of them. I know that they travel through there a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bothered there, so they feel comfortable. Again, it's a matter of people hazing them to make them uncomfortable.
I think we should share, though, that something like that, Valhalla Cemetery is a private property. So just like we have reports of these coyotes coming from Disney, where we know that they're possibly living on private property, we're reaching out to those property owners and seeing if we can work with them to, like in the case of Disney, to work with them to trap those coyotes. We've had some reports of coyotes coming from Jordan Middle School and Burroughs High School. So we've reached out to the school district to let them know, and we're willing to work with them also, trying to trap animals that are on their facilities. So I don't know that we've reached out to Valhalla yet, but we can certainly do that, and any other private property reports.
We have, they're very cooperative over at the cemetery. Anytime we need to go onto their campus, they're very willing to let us on. So, okay.
Well, that actually, you already kind of touched on a different question, which is, do we do anything about problem coyotes? So the Disney coyotes are a very good example of exceptionally problem coyotes.
And these particular coyotes have been taking pets. They've been killing pets. And so we've actually had people who have followed them and witnessed them coming out of Disney, going to Disney. So this is how we know that it is these two coyotes that are a problem. I know, Captain Irving, that we had received a question, actually 2 questions, and I hope that these people are on tonight, but concerning shooting a coyote in Burbank. Can you talk to us about that from the police perspective?
Sure. So first off, I would say that what the law allows is if you're defending your own property or a life, so that could include your pet, you could be justified in shooting an animal. Now, there are other laws, like a municipal code that prohibits discharging a firearm in city limits. So I'm going to say, given the circumstances, it could be allowed. I'm not sure I would encourage it. It's a good opportunity to get yourself in a bad situation liability wise. Most of the area here is pretty densely populated. You shoot around, you have very little control over where that ends up going. It'll go through a coyote, most likely pretty easily, depending on what you're shooting. And then where does that round end up? If it ends up in a neighbor's house, a car, at a minimum, you might have some property damage. Worst case, you hurt or killed another person. That's probably going to be problematic. So not something I would encourage, but legally, if the circumstances are right and there's evidence to support that, then you would be justified in killing a coyote, including with a firearm, if it was to defend a life or your property.
Thank you, Captain Irving. There was a question, a follow-up question to that. How about an air gun?
Yeah.
Same thing. You could use one, I believe. So if it's in a kind of an emergency situation, that would be okay. Same criteria, though, you're using it to protect your property or a life. Now, just to kind of randomly be shooting them, there is the same municipal code applies to air guns, whether they're air or CO2 cartridges. There's a section that covers basically any sort of shooting projectiles. You need a permit to do that. So unless it's in an emergent circumstance, you might then have some issues with violating that municipal code. So the key is it being an emergency to protect your property or to protect a life. And then in that case, you could do, within reason, anything you had to do to protect the life or property.
Okay. So Lisa, you had no additional questions on your list?
I do, actually. Let's see. We have a question about how have coyotes, their behavior changed during COVID, during the pandemic, since we're all on shutdown. We talked a little bit about it, right? I think.
Yeah, about the traffic patterns being different.
Okay.
Oh, well, you know what? I'll take this opportunity to talk about the schools, because I know people have asked about Jordan Middle School specifically. Obviously, the schools, no one's, or it's very minimal number of people on campus right now. So the coyotes feel more comfortable. There's not, the hundreds of students that are normally there making noise. But yes, we have reached out to Jordan Middle School. We have seen evidence of coyotes going through the school. Officers recently went over there and they made a number of recommendations for the school staff to take care of so that they could eliminate attractants. We are not setting traps there at this time, but all of Burbank Unified School District should have received the brochures that we normally send out to people. I did forward them over to them so that they could be forwarded to all staff. I know also someone asked about the safety of students when they return, which likely won't be till next year, fall semester, most likely, if all goes well. But I can tell you that our animal control officers do wildlife presentations at schools. I know that Stacy has done presentations over at Washington because we used to receive complaints in that area. So that's like a regular thing now that Stacy goes to Washington, Luther, and certainly we can include Jordan when the time comes as well, and any other school that wishes to have us. We would certainly be out there. Let me see if there was, I'm trying to remember any other questions that we had concerning schools. I think that's it. Did you have anything else, Lisette?
Yeah, I have a question asking, what about hazing in commercial areas where maybe people aren't around after hours, like let's say after 5 p.m.? How do you haze in those areas, or what do you recommend to be done there?
You definitely recommend hazing even if they're in industrial areas, because it conditions them to be fearful of humans. So every opportunity is important to haze.
Mm-hmm.
If it's after 5 a.m., if it's after 5 p.m., if you see them, whether it be residential or industrial, yeah, it's important just to condition them and haze. It's good practice for you too. It's get out there and haze. I mean, that's what we're promoting tonight, definitely.
Sure, and there's a lot of motion censored things that people could put up in those areas too. Like, I mean, for example, if you're trying to deter criminals from your home, you put up all these motion censored lighting, and it's essentially the same thing: preparing your home, preparing your area to deter coyotes and hopefully criminals at the same time. But yeah, those things help. I know I've had my car broken into in the past, and we didn't have a motion sensor light up, and that's one of the first things that the officers told us to do that. We got a gate. So there's, did we want to? No. Did we want to spend that money? No. But I'll tell you, I sleep better at night now because I have these things up, and it also protects my home from coyotes also. Lisette, if you do not have any other questions, I have some notes that I took that I just wanted to cover a couple things. Somebody asked, I saw a question in the chat room there. Is there data on feral cats versus domestic cats that are killed? Unfortunately, no. We do not know unless there was maybe like a microchip and it went back to a feral cat rescue place, or the ear was ear tipped, and we have that to see, but normally we wouldn't know unless they were alive what their behavior was, because their behavior would indicate that they're feral or not. Let's see. I also wanted to mention the Coyote Cacher website that we have directed you to. Dr. Neve Quinn, who helps run that website, is also conducting a study on coyotes. And the study involves trapping coyotes, collaring them, and letting them go in the same area where they are trapped. And they track them to, however they do it in their study, to find out if hazing is actually working. because I believe that she actually brought up the question, how do we know that hazing's working? We don't really know. So they're actually conducting a study. I can tell you though, personally, you know, we've had to haze coyotes and they run away when I do it. But this way, at least, there will be some documented proof of whether or not it works. So that is something I wanted to tell you about, and actually that we are going to be one of the cities that participates in the study, which would be great for us to be able to get this data from the study they're conducting. So I did want to let you guys know that. I think that, oh, the other thing I did want to mention, people have asked, can they hire wildlife management companies on their own? And yes, you can, but they would be trapping on your property, not on city property. It would be your property, and that is it. I do understand, though, that they are expensive, but people have asked, and that's why I wanted to make sure to get you that answer. So I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to mention?
There's a question about dog doors. Brenda, can you address that? And if that's a danger for the pets?
Dog doors? Yes. Well, it certainly can be. We have had calls actually where raccoons have gotten into people's kitchens and into their homes. So wildlife can certainly come in through the doggy door as well. You know, we don't recommend allowing your pet to have, you know, unlimited access to your backyard. You do want to control that. You know, I have a little dog at home and she only goes out when I let her out and when I'm with her. So, and, you know, quite frankly, I mean, I've heard all the stories. I've talked to residents who have lost their pets, and yeah, it definitely hits home. I mean, we love our animals and we want to take care of them. So, you know, I treat her like I would my a toddler. You know, I have 3 sons, and when they were little, they went nowhere without me. So it's essentially the same thing. I know that we have also Greg, who's chatting with us too, and he is mentioning catios and doggios, yes, which are like an enclosed area that you can attach to your home so your cat can go in and out as they please and be safe, because it's completely enclosed. They can still enjoy the outdoors and bask in the sun and the fresh air, but they would be safe. And it's the same concept with the doggios. So yes, thank you, Greg, for mentioning that. That's absolutely a great suggestion. Anything else that we wanted to cover before we take any additional questions? Lisa, I'm gonna leave you in charge of that one.
No, I think we covered most of what we received via emails. You know, we tried to generalize it because we did get a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
I did see a few hands being raised throughout the presentation.
Okay.
So do we want to open it up to anyone who wants to speak?
Sure.
And maybe a question? Please do so now. I think there's a raising your hand ability somewhere here. And I will try to, okay, I think I see. Let me see, who is raising their hands? Okay, I think I saw Robin Randall.
Oh, good, okay.
I think I saw you raise your hand first, so I'm not sure who came next, but I'm going to allow you to talk, so you should be able to be on screen if all goes well. Robin, are you there? Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right.
I can't hear Robin.
Hello? Hello? Can you guys hear me? Yeah? You can hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm not muted. Yeah, and I've been the lead on the group about coyotes on the next door, as you guys know, because I've been in communication with you. And there was one woman that made a report on there where she was walking her dog and 3 coyotes started following her. And in her trying to haze them or do something, she lost her dog. The dog started running by itself, and the coyote started running after the dog. And then, luckily, I guess another person was there, like on the other end of it, somehow caught the dog, or something happened, so her dog did not get killed. But when there's more than one or two, can you explain about hazing? Like, what do you do if they're like surrounding you, if there's like that many?
Well, Robin, I think that's very unfortunate. That I'm sure that was really scary for her. But I think that some of the devices that I showed that are the loud noisemakers are the best to use. The air horn would be great. I mean, obviously she needs to keep a good hold on her dog, or anybody else that's using it. Keep a good hold on your dog if you're going to use it. But these air horns, they work really well with multiple coyotes. They're very jarring.
And to further that question, somebody we did a meeting with my brother Greg, who is a former animal control officer, as you guys know. And Haley brought up that you could put it on a lanyard around your neck.
Yeah.
Breakaway lanyard. So everyone should walk. Yes.
Yeah, these are great.
Where do we get those? Where's the best place to get those?
I bought these at Big Five.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought these at Big Five. You can also get them at any sporting store. What's that? It's the REI.
No, REI.
Yeah, you can get them at any sports store. Yeah, I mean, just go to Big Five, local business, and they're very inexpensive. This air horn I think was $6.99, so it's definitely worth it.
Somebody asked on our site about tasing them.
Tasing. Are there, I don't know what the laws are for the, I don't think you can hold the taser, right, sir?
Yeah, I'm not really sure either. Depends, I think, on the type of taser, but your odds of hitting even if it's holding still, it's a pretty small target. And the tasers, usually there's 2 darts and they spread as they travel. We don't have great success always in putting both in targets that we're shooting, and the chances of doing that in a coyote are probably pretty slim. So probably not the best choice of tools.
Okay, and lastly, a lot of people asked about pepper spray.
Yeah, you can use pepper spray. They sell, this is another one that was at Big Five. It's a little teeny thing. You can put it on a lanyard. You can put it on a keychain. But you have to be pretty direct. Yeah, I really recommend the air horn or the rescue whistle, that can be very, very loud. The pepper spray, it can work, but you're going to have to be really precise. The other noisemakers, they have a better range, and I think you have a better chance of hazing them with those.
Okay, I'll let someone else speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you, Robin. I'm sorry, Miss Randall. So the next person I see raising their hand is Joe Martinez. So Joe, I'm going to allow you to speak now. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm from the country, and we've always had a coyote problem, and that coyote problem doesn't stop. It doesn't stop the breeding of them. It doesn't stop them creating more dens and expanding their range. So coming from my experience of living out in the country and having animals and farm animals, there's always a coyote problem. It's handled by hunting them or shooting them. The problem that I see with the hazing is you're going to run them off maybe that afternoon, maybe that evening, but it's not going to stop the core problem that they're going to be breeding. They're going to create more baby coyotes. And that doesn't address the problem that we have now. The problem we have now is because we haven't done anything. That's just my expert opinion of living in the country. We've always had a coyote problem out in the country, and the eradication of them doesn't stop. They continue to breed. So while hazing is a nice opportunity to get everyone in the city and urban environment to understand how to run them off at that moment, it doesn't address the core problem of them breeding and creating more dens. So that's my point. I've seen 3 right in the middle of the street. You yell at them, they didn't change their pace. They just looked over and kept walking. I've seen scat in the yard. It doesn't stop them. I've got lights, I've got cameras, I've got motion detectors, and the whole bottom line is they still continue to come in. And I'm on Naomi, so I've seen them. Anyway, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Okay, the next person I see raising their hand is Greg Sousa. So Greg, you're on.
Hey, thank you very much. To follow on what the last speaker said, this is the problem that's going to be ongoing. If we don't do something about it, it is going to escalate. I would imagine the coyotes would eventually even acclimate to the hazing. What has been shown to be more effective is trapping and culling. And I've posted a link to one of the traps that has been shown to be pretty effective with coyotes. The box traps, the live traps, don't work as well because, as you've mentioned, coyotes are a fairly smart animal, and they learn to avoid those cage traps pretty quickly. The snare traps that are available now can either be lethal or non-lethal, but as we've discussed, we can't really be relocating coyotes. So it just comes down to the cold, hard reality of we have to make choices. We have to prioritize whether we want this to be a coyote habitat or a habitat for people and our pets. Unfortunately, here on the valley floor, I think we've already made that decision. Now we just have to reinforce it. And as far as, of course, the city would be looking at an EIR requirement to engage in any widespread trapping effort. However, I'm not sure that as an individual property owner, I would be required to. And so I want to suggest to everyone on the meeting tonight that perhaps we should consider as individuals stepping up our efforts to perhaps trap some of these animals. It has become an all too common occurrence to see them here on the valley floor. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Okay, and next I have Carrie Ann Lucky. So Carrie Ann, please go ahead. Carrie Ann, I think you're muted.
There I go. Can you hear me now? Good. Okay, so today I hazed one of the juveniles. We call them the juveniles because they're the ones that were born at the Redeemer Church here on Alameda. That's why they know about Disney, and we call Oak Coyote Road because that's where they go. So we saw him, me and my friend were walking our dogs together. Actually, I walked my neighbor's dog, and we saw one I saw one that was right in the middle of the sidewalk. So we yelled at it, we chased it, and then we got her dog inside her house. We got my neighbor's dog inside her car, and I went hazing the coyote down the street. I have the blowhorn, I have the pepper gel, I have a stick, I have the can with the coins in it that you shake. That seemed to bother him more than the other things that I used. So I chased him, and she got in her car and continued to chase him down on Lamer, where a lady was walking her little dog and went right by it. So she picked up her dog. Then he came back. So I hazed him for 1.5 miles today because I was checking my mileage, and he kept on coming back. So finally I used my pepper gel. I don't use pepper spray because I've had it come back in my face. So I used the pepper gel, I sprayed it all around him, and he took off. And so I continued to follow him until he went all the way down towards Jordan. So at 3:45 today, he came back. So he came back and we chased him again and he went down to Jordan. So they do come back. And this is this one, we know it's the same one because he has the same routine. First, he's across the street from my house at 7:30. I chased him. Now this was, and I changed up my routine walking the dog. It was early, it was late. We changed the whole thing. Now he's out and walking with us. And what he does, what really bothers me is he knows my neighbor's dog that I walk. So he'll stand on her grass and look around for the cats and look around for him. So we've told her he is no longer allowed to go outside. They have a little area where he goes to the bathroom, so he's safe. But yeah, I mean, I did all that and it was the pepper gel that got him to run. But I used the whistle, I used the horn, I used everything, but he is persistent. This one is persistent. So that's what we have down here on Oak and Disney. And Disney has all that foliage all over there. So they hide really well in there because I saw one just sitting right on top. So, but that's what I wanted you to know about the siblings that we have down here. That's what we call them because we know they're siblings. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. I know that we've been in communication and we've sent you flyers as well on hazing. I think it would be great if we could maybe have a separate meeting with your community there, you know, where Stacy could talk about hazing and show everybody how to do that. I think it would be beneficial in your area.
Also, we appreciate your efforts and the miles that you chase the coyote. And we have to remember that the hazing is to scare the coyote away from people. We are going to see patterns where they're going back to where they're denning and where they're living. So the hazing is to try to make them fearful of the people. But yeah, we will see them coming back for their food sources and things like that. But great effort. Thank you so much. This is what we need. Thank you.
Yes, we have a few more. I see Cynthia Peters next. So Cynthia, take it away.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes? Great. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And I have to agree with the previous three people, especially the gentleman who did live in the country. I think I did too for a little bit through my family. You learn a lot about how wolves and bears and coyotes and all those lovely creatures live. They are totally multiplying. It is ridiculous the amount. I think they teach, of course, these young ones, and the two siblings I see, I posted, and as our conversation started, two ran across my house. It's not a daily thing, but it's enough that it's annoying. But it could be the same ones that coming back on Beechwood, who howl and yip in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, for about a half hour. There's no way I go out and scream. I swear a little bit. I don't know what to do. They've come to our doorways. I mean, they know our pets are inside. And I don't know. They've got to be eradicated. I know this is a problem. I know it's really hard. I know it's an effort. I know it's probably money. I know it's probably all that, but it's really scary for some of us to just think we could just walk out our door freely. It's COVID. We're not doing anything, but that's our first thing, maybe before a mask. So I appreciate being able to talk about this, and I underline everybody before me and or highlight them, whatever. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Cynthia. Maybe if you can send your information to Lisette privately on the chat, we could certainly have an officer stop by, or maybe Stacy can make time to stop by and make some recommendations and just go over things with you there. And again, maybe your neighborhood is one that we should also put on the list, like to have a hazing meeting soon.
Yeah, thank you, because there's a few homes here that have had the same experience with me, and they would be a part of it. I could bring them in. I don't.
Great.
I'm a leader, but I don't want to get too much of a leader. The problem also is we have a gentleman on the block who is part of a Coyote fan club, so to speak. So, you know, we can only really go so far. He's been pretty adamant about anything negative or anything done to them, or it's just, it's one of those things. I don't know if he's online here. I don't want to call him out,
Sure.
but
It's a difficult
everybody's got
issue.
their own thing, you know?
Yeah, it's a sensitive issue. We understand
is.
that.
It
Mhm.
is. And I think we're just a good old route from Oak past Starbucks, you know, across the three-way intersection of Alameda and Olive. And for some reason up our block where we don't even have bumps on the street. So we have cars, we have the fire department. They don't care. They're just cooking along or hanging out in the middle of the night. So I don't know what attracts them, but thank you. I just
But
wanted
yeah,
to point that out.
send Lisette your info so we can arrange for that, Cynthia.
I will. Hi,
Okay.
Lisette. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
And I am Lisette, not Sherry, just to reiterate that. And then also, let's get our wildlife email account used. So, you know, everyone, if you have any comments or questions, whatever we don't get to address tonight, just please do send that over to us and we'll get back to you. Okay, so the next person that I have here is Cynthia. Wait, we did Cynthia Peters. Okay. Lower hand for Cynthia. Patty Haley, you're up next.
Thank you. I've lived in this town for more than 40 years. I hate to admit that, and on my block for more than 40 years. Up until this year, we would usually see 1 or 2 coyotes a year. Okay, since March, we had the pair, and then they had 2 babies, and the 2 babies are now juveniles. Now we have the 4. We live between the elementary school and the continuation school. They got to be in one of those places because they go back and forth between them. The other night, I did the same thing with the car. I'm surprised the Burbank PD didn't get a phone call because I was also hanging out the window, screaming and hitting the horn. Those guys walked right by 2 people before I started hitting the horn, walked right by them, didn't even blink. The guy that was fixing his car didn't blink. And I chased him 2 or 3 blocks until they finally, but they were so tired, they ran up into some bushes and that was the end of that. But they also, like we learned from Greg, learn. And so I had posted in the chat about them had staked out my house. Well, this morning at 5:01, 1 cat's in the window, 1 cat's by the front door, and they were going ballistic. And I'm like, all right, I'm already up. Go look out the window. The 2 big ones are sitting on my front lawn. They came for breakfast. They did not get breakfast. They got a super soaker because I went out the back door and came around and nailed them. But I also, over the last week, have talked to every single dog walker that's walked down my block. 1 person knew about the coyotes. I was in Petco. 6 people in line. Not one of them had heard about the coyotes. That might be a place to put a sign at Petco because people read the signs in Petco. And I put a couple, I like annoyed you guys with lots of comments in the thing. So, but thank you for doing this. The other thing besides all my experience, and some of you guys know exactly who I am, but you probably don't know, I was also a docent at the zoo for years and years. I am an animal person. This has gotten out of hand. It is way out of hand. I teach at a school, not here, and we have had a stable pack of coyotes that live on the golf course next to our school for 15 years. The kids get threatened if they try to feed them. They eat crap in the parking lot. This year they have gotten really skinny because we don't have anybody in the parking lot to feed them. But that pack stays at 6 to 8 individuals at the most. They don't come in the classrooms. They stay in the parking lot. They eat bunnies for food. They're good. Nobody bothers them. That's how, and we also on that same campus have We used to have a cougar. He finally moved. We have raccoons. We have a little bit of everything. We have a bobcat on the other campus. We have owls. We have all kinds of animals on that campus. But that particular campus is managed pretty well. I think because we all moved out of the schools down here, they found a great place to put all their pups, and their pups are growing up very safe. And now it's almost time to breed them again. And if they're still in those schools in January, and they're probably going to be, because there's probably going to be no kids in the schools, I hate to say it, until next fall. Sorry, I'm an educator. I know we're stuck. We can't go back either. So we got to do something. And I agree with the gentleman and say we just need to trap them. And I'm sorry, they just, and you need to get a whole group. You can't get this one over here and this one over here. If you're going to take out a group, you need to take out the whole family member group. And that's it. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Patty. So you mentioned something interesting that you've been noticing since March, that this has just gotten, to be worse than you've ever seen it. And March is obviously when the quarantine started due to the pandemic. So yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately we're seeing this is another unintended consequence of the quarantine, of just like speeding. It's an unintended consequence. I mean, it's so scary out there on the roads right now on the freeways. So there's so many things that are, happening that we didn't foresee. So, and again, I know that people, there's a lot of you that are very in favor of trapping multiple coyotes. But as we mentioned previously, that's going to take some time. Certainly something we're not opposed to looking into. As I mentioned, the EIR report would be needed. But, what we can do right now, again, is just join forces and haze them to the max. That's going to help at this point. That's the cheapest and quickest thing that we can do right now. And I believe it was Greg that mentioned if you wish to trap at your home with a wildlife management company, that's certainly your prerogative. So that is something that you can do if you wish. But thank you very much, Pat.
Yes, I have a few more. Sherry Barnett, you're up next. Sherry, you're muted. Okay, there we go.
I'm here. Yes. Yeah, I thank you all for being here with us and addressing the issues. The hazing information is great. I mean, I have a small Coke can with coins, and I don't have a dog to walk, but I have 3 cats at the house, and I've lived in my house for over 20 years, and they always, my cats were like the greeters out in the front yard for people and their kids, and they always had their freedom, and we don't have the freedom anymore, and I've got cats that are, doing bad stuff in the house because I can't let them out, and it's a weird environment to be living in. And I had an incident the other night. In the middle of the night, we heard noises that were very disturbing. We ended up calling the cops, and and interestingly enough, we're like 2 blocks over from where the Burbank border is. And so we had to call the North Hollywood police station, and we got a recording that the North Hollywood police station was closed. So, which was not very assuring for us at all. So we got back on with 911, and I guess you get California Highway Patrol instead. And the point here is that at a certain point, it took a half hour for any cops to come, and they didn't even let us know they were here. They shone some flashlights, but we had been listening to these sounds for like 45 minutes at the door, and it sounded like somebody was like, trying to jiggle the door handle. I heard breathing. It was scary. And finally, in retrospect, I think it was coyotes. the cats were all on alert. I think they were smelling the cats inside, and determined from stories I've heard now. And it's just, I think the hazing is great for temporarily moving the coyotes on, but as the other folks have said, they come back. They come back. And so I think we have a bigger problem, unfortunately. And interestingly enough, the only light around the front of my house is right at the front door. And that was not a deterrent to them at all. I mean, I mean, now I bought a ring light and we're putting up the Ring doorbell and all that, but I still don't know that is enough of a deterrent to them, and I know I've got, a gate that's 6 feet high, but I know they could jump over that, according to the reports we get. So I just, I'm very concerned for everybody in this neighborhood who has small pets, particularly cats, obviously, but, and people having to be so, chasing people for chasing coyotes for blocks. We don't all have the time to do that either.
Right. No, absolutely, Sherry. But I wonder if, you said you're going to be putting up more lighting. That is certainly a great solution. Also, you might try like a motion censored sprinkler as well. I know that works well.
Yeah. Okay.
And
we
then
already we have one motion light out front in front of the garage, so it would seem like those lights were all on and they still were like determined,
Yeah, and if you like, we can also arrange for an animal control officer to come to your home as well and take a look and see if there's any other recommendations that they can give you. That's certainly something that we offer.
Okay, but as I say, I'm like right over the edge. I'm in Toluca Woods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I would have to find out who else would do that, if anyone would.
Yeah, I mean, we could consider, I know we're going to work on a hazing video. We may consider maybe doing a property checklist video that you could have access to from our website as well. I think that's something that we could probably do also.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm just concerned about the bigger picture,
Yeah,
Sure.
there's great products too that you can just you can pick up on Amazon that are pretty inexpensive, but they are the motion sensor, like the sprinklers. Those are again very jarring to wildlife, and those will also keep the raccoons and things away. Your situation doesn't sound, I'm not dismissing it, but it didn't really sound like they could have been coyotes. It sounds more like raccoons or something. Yeah.
But I don't think the raccoons would have been tall enough to, I don't know, to reach the.
Oh, they're pretty tall.
Are they?
Tall, yeah.
Okay, but we have had coyotes around.
I'm sure, yeah.
There's a 7-Eleven at Cahuenga and Riverside, and reports of them walking down the alley behind there, and also on off of Magnolia and Biloxi and Strom. We're not immune to it at all. No,
not at all. Yeah, but either coyotes or raccoons, those motion sensors are great deterrents for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so next we have John Warner. So John, go ahead, please.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to say I'm off Virginia, down by Jordan Middle School, and I've lived here for 46 years. And I can attest that the frequency is up unbelievably. I mean, what might have been, once in a while is now 4 or 5 times a week, maybe at all different times, maybe, 2 or 3 times in the morning and a couple other times at night, and not even late at night, it could be 4:35 at night, it doesn't matter anymore. And I've personally, had cat parks in my front yard and things like that. And, talking to other neighbors and that, and it just, is there anybody, obviously, the school is run by the school district, but is there anybody going to these schools or properties that the city does control that are they taking a look at them at all?
So yes, we actually recently did go to Jordan Middle School, and the officers did make recommendations for attractants there that they could do away with. So I don't know if you heard earlier, but I did also send out brochures to Burbank Unified School District, and I asked them to please alert us if they are having any issues with coyotes at other schools so that we could go out there as well. But in the meantime, what we did was we sent brochures over and just asked them to email us if they are noticing any issues. But Jordan, we did go to.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just saw, also like, when I'll come out and that, I'm not a very small man, but they just kind of look at you. They're not scared like the timid ones kind of before. They just seem to be like, okay, I'm here, I'm doing my business. And you'll watch them walk up and down people's driveways or up along down by the porch line and stuff like that. They don't just stick to the street or the sidewalk anymore. They're actively, going like in and out of yards if there's no gate or fencing to prevent them also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hazing, I mean, I know you mentioned you're not a small person, you said, but I've spoken to residents who are big guys and who are afraid to haze a coyote, even though we've been talking about it for a long time. So I think it's probably, we could relate it to maybe like if I were taking self-defense classes, and maybe in theory I know how to do it, but it's going to be scary unless I'm actually physically practicing it. So I think that Stacy has some ideas in the works for that to get people to actually physically practice. And again, we are going to put videos up as well. But yeah, I understand it can be scary, and I think actually practicing, like I said, with other people and making it something normal to do would help. I get what you're saying, John.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next we have John. I'm sorry, John spoke again. Jenny Young.
Hi, good evening. You can hear me. Thank you for being here. So I just have a few points and I'm just going to rattle through them. It's not going to be smooth, but it'll just be, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I can be fast. Right now, I believe, in my own personal opinion, it's manageable. But the longer we wait, I don't think it's going to be good. I think they're going to become territorial and children will be at risk when they do go back to school. My fear about hazing is I fear that they will get antagonized and may retaliate. I have been chased by 2 a few years ago, and it was scary. My friend 2 years ago got nipped in the ankle in Burbank, and she hazed it, and it didn't go away. And I found out recently with the other Zoom that was what they do when they want to get fed. But it still doesn't take away the fact that she got nipped in the ankle. My roommate was moving in and one came right up to her trunk while she was moving her stuff out and tried to haze it, and it wouldn't go away. It's just getting really bad. I am concerned. I have 2 small dogs. I walk, and now I don't feel comfortable going out my back door. I don't feel comfortable hazing. I've got all the hazing equipment with me, but I've got 2 small dogs, and if they're behind me, how am I supposed to grab my dog and haze at the same time? So I just feel like we're a prisoner here, and we're paying taxes. We should be comfortable living in our own homes, and I'm not comfortable anymore. I am from Scotland, and in Scotland, I don't know, but there's foxes over there if you're familiar with that. And it used to not be so bad, and then it got bad because no one did anything about it. And now in the gardens, there's at least 15 to a den. And if you have a cat, there's, it's not safe. And I just feel that this is becoming the same issue that they have over there. And I just feel that we need to be proactive. I just see somewhere down the line, like everyone's saying, like with COVID, if we don't take action sooner, it's going to just escalate. And I'm honest, I'm very scared. I'm very concerned. And, you know, I do love my animals and I don't let them out anymore. You know, it's bad for the environment because I'm going through so many pee pads. They're on house arrest. You know, it's just, you know, it's hard to explain to two little dogs that they can't go for a walk. You know, it's just sad. But unless I have a couple of you guys coming, following me and being bodyguards, you know, maybe we can walk in numbers and someone can behind. Yeah. And someone can be behind, you know, we can, like you said about I started Neighborhood Watch here, and I'm happy to do the neighborhood coyotes. And I'm also happy, you know, like I'm high risk, but I'm also happy to have people walking in groups. Like if we all choose to have 10 people in a group. But I don't think the hazing is going to work. You know, I'm sorry, but I agree with all the other people, because I've lived on a farm and 50 chickens got taken in one night from the foxes. It got to the point where it was just so bad. I was up in Fife in Cooper in Scotland. And, you know, we couldn't even have animals anymore because the foxes were so bad. And, you know, that's my experience. So yeah, numbers, you know, in numbers, maybe we can go out and I don't know. So thank you.
I hear what you're saying, Jenny. I'd love to get together with you, maybe go out and talk to you at your house,
Okay.
and check some things out, and just get together with you so we can discuss ways that you can actually safely walk your dogs.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, just email Lizette and we will definitely make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Can you put the email on again?
And I'll make sure to type our email address below. So if you want to just copy, send us an email so we can, you know, get to all of your, or make sure to follow up. Okay, so next I see Cynthia Caspi. Go ahead, Cynthia. I think you're muted.
Hi,
Okay, there we go.
I'm here. I'm sorry, I was muted. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me now? Hello? No? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you. I'm sorry, we're muted,
Oh, okay.
but go ahead.
Okay, great. So I live near Jordan. I walk my dogs. I have 3 big dogs, and I used to walk them together, and now I walk them each separately because it's too hard to control them when the coyotes from Jordan are around. They were originally like a juvenile pair, and they were a little bit more afraid of people, but they've been there for over a year. They are full-size dogs now, or full-size canines now, and they are really brazen. I try to haze them. I've tried many of the suggestions. It just doesn't do anything. They look at you, they'll lay in a front yard, they'll kill an animal. So I go after the sun is up, but early, like 6:30, and lights wouldn't make any difference because these guys are out all day long, and they're hanging around, and they will kill a cat. I've seen many cats killed. One day recently, when I was walking down Mariposa, I saw them eating, and after I chased them off, there was a cat's head sitting on the lawn facing the front porch of this house. And all I could think of was a small child walking out of that house and seeing his cat or somebody's cat's face looking at him. They've really gotten brazen. They do occasionally kill a possum. They killed a mother possum recently, and the poor babies were running around loose and confused. I'm sorry, I'm in a dog training. That's what the barking is. And they've really gotten big, and I'm afraid that they're going to breed now this year. I do believe they're living on the Jordan property. And what I was wondering is it possible without an EIR to collar them, catch them, collar them, and get some good data? Because then you could be able to use it. The people in the area might be willing to help push the city council to pay for an EIR so we can do something, because these guys are not afraid of anything. They will go up and down driveways. When I chase them, they'll go in somebody's backyard. Twice they have snuck up where I had one in front of me, and I'm always looking for where's the other one, because I know there's 2. And I turn around and, my dog are hazing, going towards it, but it's not backing off. And I turn around and look, and the other one's sneaking up behind me. And another person who walks at the same time, who also has a pretty large dog, told me the same thing happens to him. And then we recently read on Nextdoor that some dog named Jeffrey was killed. They jumped into the dog's yard and over the fence. The dog was out peeing at night, according to the report on Nextdoor. And they jumped over the fence, killed the dog. It was a medium-sized dog, the reporter said. And this is getting out of hand. And if it's a medium-sized dog, one person posted, what about my small children playing in the backyard during the day? I mean, I'm a dog lover. I show dogs. I'm here at an agility training class right now. I would never, ever want to do this, but these coyotes need to go. They really, really need to go. They are getting more and more and more brazen. They are not afraid of anybody. And I'm not scared of dogs. They're about the same size as my dogs. I have collies. And there's got to be something we can do. Hazing is nice, but to me, hazing sounds naive. At least for the ones that have now become daytime residents that are not afraid of people, that will not back off. They'll walk down the street a little faster if you follow them, chasing them, yelling, screaming, waving your arms. And hazing classes are nice, and that's good for some people. But like a couple of the callers before us, I think what we're really looking for is for the city to take some action about the ones that are particularly brazen. I am happy to be a captain for the neighborhood. A lot of people talk to me because they see me walking my dogs all the time. But I want to hear that there's something that we can do besides hazing classes and bulletin boards. What do you guys have for us?
Okay, that's a lot of issues to address. Obviously, we have addressed a lot of them, but I want to talk to you about the cats, and it's really, really unfortunate to lose a pet, and obviously for a child to come outside and see something like that. But the coyotes don't know the difference between an opossum or a squirrel or a cat. It's prey to them. Yeah. So it's really important that we educate people to keep these pets indoors. Outside
but
cats,
they don't.
No, they don't. But well, part of our job is to continued education, till we're blue in the face. Tell them, like, you got to keep these pets indoors. It starts with the residents. It really does. It starts with the way that they're keeping the yard. It starts with the way that they're keeping their cats indoors. Unfortunately, we have a lot of Burbank residents that have outdoor cats, and it's a huge attractant. And again, a coyote doesn't know the difference. So if they have
I don't blame the coyotes. That's
I know, I understand, but I just wanted to address the cat issue. But I know that
they get about 2 to 3 a week near Jordan, 2 to 3 a week at least, and that's only on the 2 blocks I walk on. That's a lot of cats. So, and I reported one person who was feeding feral cats in the nicest way to somebody who was going to go and educate her, and those cats are gone. I haven't seen them lately, near the fire station, right next to the fire station.
Yeah, we don't know unless they're reported, and if they're reported, absolutely go out and we will do an investigation.
And I put it on the Coyote Catcher website. You'll see if you look, my name's there all the time. And I have been posting that link on Nextdoor. Somebody posted it, I found it, and I've been posting that. I posted this meeting on 3 or 4 threads on Nextdoor. So, I mean, education's good. That's really important. But some of the ones that are just really brazen, we need to consider, no matter how challenging or expensive. I've been involved in things like EIRs, and I know it costs money, but it's time. Some of these guys have really, because there's less people out, there's no kids at the schools, there's less traffic, and they're getting more and more bold. And I guess you know that, but anyway, I just wanted to share.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And I also appreciate all of your efforts that you're making to spread the word. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so next we have Robin Randall. Robin, I think you raised your hand again, I believe, right? Okay, go ahead.
Hello? Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say that in monitoring Nextdoor, the frequency of the people posting videos of the coyotes coming onto their porch, and there's at least every single day and I know, Brenda, I think you've seen them, but there's like every single day, there's for months now about the coyotes, there's more frequent postings about sightings. And I talked to my brother, Greg, who I think's on here, and he was saying that it's very important for people who have firsthand sightings to post it on. We made a Facebook page for the sighting. Jamie, thank you, Jamie, did a Facebook page for firsthand, not telling my neighbor said this, but I saw the coyote. And then, so you're saying that your email will do the same thing. Every time somebody sees a coyote or has an incident with a coyote, to email you, that make a report on that email. Is that right? Yes, and the coyote cacher too.
That would be super helpful. I mean, I know it's double reporting that way, but certainly, or you could just go to Coyote Cacher, make the report, and then also select that you want your animal control agency to be notified, because we will pull that data from Coyote Cacher and then we would have record of it and put it into our system so that when I pull reports from our system, that information is included.
Okay, and I'll post that too.
Okay.
So with so many people saying that the coyotes are getting like they're getting used to the hazing, they don't respond, or you do it and they come back. So if it gets to be the point of like invasion of the coyote snatchers, like there's just too many and they're not reacting, what is the plan B? Is it can we, if neutering and catching, neutering, or the collar, is there crowd sourcing like GoFundMe? Can we do something as a group to, if there needs to be more resource, do we have to write to some government officials to get more?
No, Robin, I mean, quite honestly, from what I'm seeing, and again, I know there's people all over the spectrum on this issue, but from what we're seeing, people are not hazing as they should be. Just for example, the data that we pulled from Coyote Cacher recently, I think Lisette has the numbers. Do you recall how many there were, Lisette, as far as number of calls? Anyways, Coyote Cacher asks you, while Lisette's pulling that information, it asks you if you haze. Did you haze the animal or not? And I think it was maybe, what, 90% maybe were not hazing. So it's something that, and I know that everybody wants like more at this point, but what we're asking is, let's give this a huge try. If all of us do it, let's see what that does. Like, let's try this. Let's see what we can do with hazing, but everybody needs to be on board. Like, this needs to be, again, a joint effort with the shelter and the community. Let's give this a shot. It's not expensive. It can be done now, because those other things that people want, unfortunately, are not going to happen overnight, as we mentioned, and an EIR report is needed. There's a lot involved, and that takes years. So we want to do something that we can see results with now and empower people to deal with this issue, because they're there in front of it every day, so they see it.
Okay. I also want to point out that Greg, my brother, Greg Randall, mentioned about the catio and the doggio. And some people were saying, well, that's very expensive, but Greg was saying there's some DIY that you can do. But is there, Greg posted a bunch of lots of videos. So for anybody out there who's listening, there are a lot of videos he posted of different types that you can build to at least alleviate not walking your dog, but your cat or dog in your yard, to try to be able to let them out, but have some safety. And thank you very much for having this meeting. I truly, totally appreciate that.
Thank you, Robin, for all your efforts. We appreciate that.
Okay.
So we have 2 more hands up. And so Brenda, we had 107 reported sightings through Coyote Cacher. 91 said they did not haze, 14 did haze, and 2 didn't respond to that question. So that's about 85% of people who reported not hazing the coyote. Okay. So next, Pat Burton, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate what you guys are trying to do. Unfortunately, it's kind of a you guys are being put in a tough situation. From what I've seen, hazing just really alone, at least hazing alone, does not work. I think you even mentioned on the call, there's no documented evidence of hazing actually working. There's been no studies, so it's really not realistic to expect us to all haze together and be successful with this whole coyote issue when, we've had mosquitoes like crazy in the Burbank, as you guys obviously know, over the last 2 years, and people can't even remove water sources from their homes. And that's something that affects 100% of the people who actually live in Burbank. Whereas, with this coyote issue, it's not everyone. A lot of people just don't really care, because they don't have small pets or they don't have small children and things like that. So it's just not realistic. And, even more importantly, I think as someone mentioned earlier, it doesn't actually address the root cause of the problem, which is coyotes living in residential areas, relying almost exclusively on human food sources. So I just don't see how it fixes anything. On the other hand, there is documented evidence, which I sent you guys a couple links to, of how hazing combined with population control measures have seen success in several other Southern California cities. It's all documented and it's all there. And I think you guys should really look into, how we could implement something similar in our city. Now, I understand, and it really seems like the PETA lawsuit and the EIR are the main reasons why you guys aren't, willing to do more, take more action, which is understandable. It's a lot of work, everything like that. But I think you guys really need to think about and really realize how this is just going to be. You guys are going to be weighing potential lawsuits, whether you do something about this problem or you continue to do nothing. If you actually do something and respond to the community's needs by limiting the coyote population, then you can deal with PETA's frivolous lawsuit, or you could do nothing. And then when something inevitably happens where, someone's infant, toddler, or small child is attacked or even worse, killed, then you'll face a lawsuit for foreseeable negligence, which you will 100% lose. So I guess, my main question is, what is the threshold? At what point are you guys actually going to be willing to say, you know what, hazing is actually not working. We're going to, implement some population control measures. This is a big problem. Will it really take someone dying for you guys to be willing to do something about it? Like, what is the threshold?
Well, Pat, thank you for speaking with us tonight. Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. But, we gave statistics to show that coyote attacks are not frequent. There's only been 2 documented deaths in North America, and that was in the 1980s.
Yeah, one of them was in Glendale, though.
Correct. Yes, one was in Glendale. I understand there was some controversy surrounding that particular
And there've been hundreds of attacks.
incident.
And for a father of a 6-month-old, it's frankly terrifying that, and they've been in my backyard multiple times. And I've installed all the motion lighting. I've put, ammonia soaked rags all around. I've installed every single thing you could do to try and prevent them from getting in. I've removed all food sources. They still, are persistent because I have a small dog as well.
And that's great that you're doing that, Pat. But what we're saying is that all the residents need to be doing this. Like, everybody needs to get on board, because there's several people just like yourself who do everything that you need to do, but then the house down a couple houses from you does not do this. No, or the other people don't haze, or they leave food out for wildlife.
I understand it, and I appreciate that. Let me just ask you this. Let's assume 50% of Burbank doesn't want to do anything. They love coyotes. They think they were here first. Let's leave them as is. How is it realistic to expect everyone to haze when half of the people potentially, actually think that they belong here and they have a role in our community and they should be here, and we're actually the ones who infringed on their livelihoods?
Well, people
it's
that
just not realistic.
People that actually feel that way do promote hazing. People that are advocates of coyotes promote hazing to keep them wild and to, keep them scared. So it's not something that I've heard animal advocacy groups being against.
Fair enough. But I guess, back to my original question, like, what is that threshold? If we go forward doing this hazing, everyone, let's assume everyone hazes, everyone in the community hazes, doesn't work. What will you do? At what point will you say this isn't working? Let's do something more?
Well, certainly, like we mentioned before, we are not opposed to looking into having an environmental impact report. But what we're telling people now is that that takes a long time and it's costly. So I know that people want answers now. So in the meantime, this is what we are asking people to do. And while we're looking into an environmental impact report, the possibility of that, we should hopefully have some data. We're going to join the study I mentioned earlier, so we can actually have some backup data as well to maybe support doing additional measures if need be.
All right, fair enough. Thank you so much for your time. Have a
Thank
great
you,
night.
Pat. Thank you, you too.
Okay, so now we have Jerry Howard. Jerry Howard, you are on.
Now. Hi, first of all, I want to thank all of you for doing this tonight. The captain, I think that was your title. I'm glad to hear that you're actually thinking of posting signs in neighborhoods where there's high coyote sightings. Our neighborhood got hit last year. I live in the Magnolia Park area, just below Magnolia off of Clybourne. Nobody knew coyotes were in our area. I've lived here for 30 years. You never see them. And they moved in. People lost their pets. Fortunately, because there were 2 signs posted on our street, I don't know who put them up. They were paper flyers. My cat was no longer allowed outdoors. It probably saved his life. And again, the other thing I think we have to consider is last year when this happened, we were all working. Nobody could like walk their dog 5 times a day. People had to hire pet sitters to come in to walk their dogs because they were gone for 8 to 10 hours. So I'm just thinking, I love the idea of the neighborhood watch, but maybe incorporated into that could maybe be a volunteer dog walking program, because when people go back to work, their only recourse is going to be able to let their dogs out through doggy doors. And honestly, my dog, he passed away a number of years ago from old age. I would not feel comfortable now being gone for 10 hours and letting my dog have to go out through a doggy door. It would really scare me. So I'm just thinking that maybe the neighborhood watch could also maybe incorporate some type of volunteer dog walking program for people that need it. Not everybody can afford to pay to have people come in at $25 a pop to walk their dog.
Sure, Jerry. Yeah, that's a great idea. Certainly, I bet you if and when we get this program started, if we have enough people that are willing to participate, I'm sure it's going to be a great networking opportunity, and hopefully bring us closer together as neighbors as well, to help each other in this way that you're talking about, and maybe other ways too. Yeah, I think it would be a great thing to do.
And I do want to reiterate again, the thing about the signs, I think that is so important, because Burbank has a lot of older residents. They're not on the internet. They don't have computers. They're not social media savvy. And so I just think having those signs posted are really, really helpful, would be helpful. And that's all I had to say. Thank you again for doing this.
Okay, I see a few more people raise their hands. Give me 1 second. I just lost my list of attendings. Okay, Carrie Ann Lubke, okay, I see you raised your hand next, or Richie, actually, let's do Carrie Ann. Okay, Carrie Ann, go
Okay,
ahead.
I just wanted to ask if it is possible to send out a flyer to the residents to say, coyotes in the area, coyotes we are now living with coyotes, because so many people walk by the street where they're all over and they have no clue that there's coyotes. No clue. And they walk with their headsets on, and they walk with their dog way back here. So they got, and they walk with the leashes that are retractable, and dogs way out here and they're way back here. So maybe
Right.
send out, you know, some type of flyer to just tell them about those things. Because I'm a dog walker, like I said, I walk my neighbor's dog, and I don't get paid because I don't want to. And he's right by my side. I never let him go ahead.
Yeah, Carrie Ann, that's smart. There are a lot of things that you can do while you're walking your dog, and you need to be alert. And you need to be alert for a lot of reasons, not just coyotes. And that's one of the things that we definitely want to start teaching people is to not walk their dogs behind them and to watch them. And those retractable leashes are, yeah, they're a nightmare. It needs to be a good sturdy leash where you don't have 15 feet between you and your dog. That's very important. But yeah, those are the type of things that we want to teach in those classes.
Carrie Ann, also, I don't know if you heard at the beginning or during Lisette's portion, but if your dog's registered in Burbank, the last 3 mailers, you should have received, or people whose dogs are registered would have received a insert that discusses coyotes and coyote hazing. So I've been trying to get the information out through there, and that's been, you know, like a year in the making. But when people call, like we have mailed out flyers. The 3 of us, Stacy, Lisette, and I, have hand delivered flyers for a webinar that we did in the summer. You know, and I'll share with you from that webinar, we had no one from that neighborhood that we were targeting attend our webinar, which was discouraging. But this is why I'm so happy that all of you are here and interested in helping. Whether or not we could do a mass mailer, I don't know. I will look into that because I know it's, you know, obviously costly. But we used to, like Lisette mentioned before, put information on Burbank USA, which was an insert with the mailer for water and power, that bill. So whether or not they're going to do something like that, I don't know. But whatever's done citywide, we will piggyback on it to get this word out for sure.
Yeah, because so many of them don't. They have no clue. Yeah.
Yes.
So. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carrie Ann.
Okay, next we have Richie Collins. Richie, go ahead. You are on.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi. So, hello everyone. My name is Richie Collins. I'm actually the Eagle Scout that was working with the Eagle Scout project relating to the coyotes issues going on. I had just a couple of questions. First of all, about earlier you guys discussed spraying. What's it called? Pepper spraying coyotes, and I was wondering, does pepper spraying coyotes have any sort of like long-lasting negative effects on them? Does it make them like go blind permanently or anything just because they're small animals, they're not humans?
Yeah, I'll take that one. No, it's all the effects from OC are temporary. So it just cause issues with the nasal passages, the eyes, the mouth, that sort of thing. It'll burn and be irritated for, I don't know exactly how long on a coyote. On a person, it's usually 30 minutes or so. So it's all temporary effects.
All right, thank you. That's just all I was curious about. And the other question I had was about posters. I was wondering, what's the legality of like putting up flyers or posters in neighborhoods and rural areas? And is it possible to get like posters in businesses put up? Do you need special permits for that kind of thing, or can you just do it?
For the businesses, probably from the business owner. As far as like putting it on telephone poles, light poles, that sort of thing, there's a municipal code that prohibits that. You may be able to get a permit to do that. I'm not certain. So I think, I mean, that's great if people want to go out to the businesses. Someone mentioned Petco, putting them in some public places like that, but I wouldn't suggest going around and plastering them on light poles and that sort of thing. So we'll be looking at, aside from the handouts and flyers sort of thing, like someone else mentioned, the permanent signage that will go into some of the city streets.
Okay.
Thank you, Reggie.
I believe that was it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for your help.
Okay, I think, is anybody else? I think that's it for Oh, okay, never mind. Patty Haley. Just raise her hand. Go ahead,
Sorry to do
Patty.
that. I thought I already.
I saw your hand, but then it went away.
Oh, I think
So,
maybe it's an accident.
oh, okay. Uh, one sec. Patty?
Unmute. There we go.
Pat,
Okay, I'm there.
Patty? Yeah.
Okay. Just three things for getting the word out. I'm not sure if anybody still gets the paper utility bills, but you may be able to put something in there, or even ask Burbank to put on the electronic ones that we get a notice in there that says something about the Coyote thing. Tweet. I wish, no offense, Burbank PD, you need to catch up with LASD and Santa Clarita. Those guys tweet like every day. Okay, even if it's thank you for the donuts. I mean, but they put the scary stuff out, but they put the good stuff out too. And they also even tweet about us down the hill, which is interesting. The other thing is there's a whole bunch of old election signs hanging around that were on the yard signs. I don't know where they all are, but man, if somebody's got old yard signs, you could flip them around and put Coyote area or something and stick it in your yard. It's a great way to reuse them. We reuse signs up at school for the next year for something else. We just flipped the signs around and wrote something else on the back.
Yeah.
So there's,
yeah, that's
those
great.
are like pretty freebies to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's all I had.
Way to slide a donut joke in there too, by the way. I appreciate that. Always appreciate a good donut joke.
Okay, I think I see new hands. Robin? Randall, go. Where'd you go? Robin, did you want to say something again?
Yeah. To that same extent that Patty Haley was saying about getting information out. I know on Nextdoor, I don't know if it's also on the Burbank page for the city, but I remember when the mayor would be giving like COVID alerts, she'd do like a little 3-minute video about things that you could do, what's the state of the city and all that. Could there be a video that goes out that maybe Brenda does or whoever does just to have like an alert? But because I think sometimes when we get flyers and especially paper, maybe not everybody reads it all, but something I was thinking that maybe a video alert like we were getting, at least we were getting them on Nextdoor from the mayor, it kind of made you take notice. So that's all. I'm suggesting of a video.
Certainly, Robin. Yeah, we are so open to hearing all these great ideas, and we love it because this is creating, obviously conversation about all this, and everybody's just brainstorming, and that's a great suggestion as well that Lisette will work on.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, I don't see any more hands. So I think if nobody else wants to say anything, please remember to send all your questions or anything you want us to follow up with to our email at wildlife@burbankca.gov.
Yes, and thank you everyone for attending and for wanting to be involved on this issue and wanting to help. We really appreciate it and we want to work with you. So please do email wildlife@burbankca.gov. Let us know if you want to be a block captain. Any sightings, reach out to us. Use the Coyote Cacher website and our new website, coyotehazing.com, which will lead you to our Coyote page on the animal shelter website. So thank you again. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. And thank you, all of you on our panel, for being here tonight. And take care, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.